Today's video is going to be important because I want you to listen. So let's address Mr. Lee Stranahan from Citizen Journalism School. You would be, as a journalist, able to verify what I'm about to put out. Mr. Charles Ortell, who understands paperwork of facts, figures and documentation, should be able to clarify what I'm about to put out, or verify what Mr. Hawkins and Mr. Goodman put out a week ago. And last not but least, Mr. Kevin Shipp, the former Central Intelligence Agency officer, or CIA officer, who was involved in counter-terrorism expert, would be absolutely ideally placed to verify this video and the statements made within it. This is the video concerned: does Phantom Rico Network connect Clintons to bio-warfare, with special guest David Hawkins? I want people to pay particular attention. Now, this is about McDonald Detwiller Associates, but I also want to start off with something quite amusing but also very dangerous. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the 3-minute 13-second part, and we're going to listen to something. What Hawkins does is an accusation.
And St. Thomas's Hospital is very interesting if we're talking about biological warfare, because the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, was infected probably by the guy behind the spurious models that predict the fatalities to be expected with COVID-19. And his name is Professor Neil Ferguson of Imperial College. And he was visiting on a regular basis number 10 Downing Street to brief the Cobra community, which is the...
Yes, you heard it for yourself. Mr. Hawkins directly stated in that sentence there that Neil Ferguson, or Professor Lockdown, was the guy ultimately behind Boris Johnson's infection in COVID-19. Based on what evidence? Neil Ferguson has coronavirus. There's no evidence that this guy had coronavirus, because believe you me, the British press would have jumped on it. Cobra, the Cabinet Office briefing room, which is an acronym. Boris Johnson assassination attempt. Well, we've got everything there to do with Russia. You go to the Daily Mirror, which is a left-leaning rag, which talks about the Russians. It also talks here in the Express about boycott Moscow if it proves behind the alleged poisoning, which was the Skripal case. Not one part of that shows any information whatsoever to do with what Mr. Hawkins claims. So let's go to Mr. Hawkins' page. Reverse scripts. We have a script, the vector, the spot, the shoot, the snuff, the slander, the spin, the split, the slap, the sneak. I will leave that for people to read of their own volition. What I'm more interested in is this company, McDonald Detwiller. This is an old documentation, but it tells you what they do. So I will link that below. You can read for yourself to understand what they are, what they produce, what they're involved in. As you can see, business risk uncertainty, dependent on key personnel, blah, 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 financials, auditors' reports. So this is a report from 2003. Going here, Hule projects is something you can look at. McDonald, Detwiller and Associates Limited, M.D.A. Well, let's go through this. M.D.A is a global communications and information company. Sorry, that's come up. providing operation solutions to commercial and government organisations worldwide. M.D.A. offers end-to-end solutions to monitor and manage changes in activities. M.D.A. is a world-class supplier of space-based and airborne surveillance solutions, satellite ground stations and associated geospatial information services. So who's in this? Well, featured companies: HID Global, IDS One Solution One Company, BCD Video, FLIR Systems, Air Account Vision, Axon Soft, Avignon. And this was created when I can't find a date on this. So we've presume this is a recent documentation of some kind. We have another piece here on IT Wire, displaying items by Tag Madonna, Detwiller and Associates. Build space systems, Laurel to be sold. So we know that they're involved in telecommunications, communications, whatever. So we have that evidence there. Now let's go to the FBI page, which talks about the International Criminal Communications Services dismantled, or otherwise known as the Phantom Secure, that helped. Now I want to understand this so we get this clear in our heads. So remember this is very important. Helped drug traffickers organise crime worldwide. So it's drug trafficking and organised crime worldwide. 20,000 users, 10 years, blah blah blah. So this is the FBI's paper. Here is the, when it loads up, the Australian paper, but unfortunately when you go to the Canadian one, the article cannot be found. Now why is M.D.A. so relevant? Well, I can show you in many ways, but let's go to previous articles written by none other than Abel Danger. 2013, McDonald's Detwiller drag drop to Serco contract towers. May 8th, 2011, Canadian Governor General David Johnston, CAI Private Equity Group, McDonald Detwiller and Associates, Matrix Fight Joint Venture, Joan Benet Ramsey murder. So you're trying to connect Joan Benet Ramsey murder to this group. KPMG McDonald Detwiller Associates, reconfigured Federal Bridge Certification Authority, which again is another fake nonsense pulled out from them. Here's another belter from February the 10th, 2012. McDonald Detwiller and Associates, M.D.A, RCMP, PK, Route Authority, Snuff Film Productions, Picton Pig Farm, Missing Men, Lower Mainland. So we have a hint here of what's going on. McDonald Detwiller Associates, implementation of Justin, alleged stolen promise software, hidden DNA, Piggy Palace, Good Times Society, February the 20th, 2012. McDonald Detwiller Associates, modified Sabre Seats reservation technology, US Justice Prisoner Alien Transportation System, Con Air. In this one, of course, Christine Marcy's named as the creator of Con Air, when we know that's a stated falsehood. If you go to my Pravda video, you'll get the name of the man that actually did create the prisoner transportation system of the Marshal Service, which later in 1995 became the Joint Prisoner and Alien Transportation System. All the evidence I have done in the past. I digress. I carry on. Friday, January the 30th, 2015, Marine links McDonald Detwiller no-fly backhand drones to circle ad hoc Super Bowls. In this one they're talking about they're going to drop bombs in the Super Bowl. December the 9th, 2014, Marine links Serco hijack Space Command to tranquilize a patent flyover waypoint switch. But, well, so 2014, surely Mr. Hawkins would have given up on this. Actually, no. What we have here is October the 17th, 2018. Sherlock Hawkins, Con Air Canada's M.D.A North Tower Marcy's Bridge of Prey. McDonald Detweller Associates M.D.A. in the development of Entrust PKI to conceal the alleged use of S.B.A. mentor protege companies to execute pitch, roll and evade in your prey maneuvers on the aircraft hijacked on 9/11 over the Federal Bridge Certification Authority network and alleged use of prisoners of the Nortel and Department of Justice DOJ joint automated booking systems. Hawkins alleges that the M.D.A. equipped Christine Conair Marcy, the sister Marine Corps whistleblower Phil McConnell, with the entrust keys to the Federal Bridge. All of this we could prove as false, and I have done, especially where it concerns Christine Marcy. But this guy still puts out this stuff. But let's talk about the RCMP, why they might have a problem with this story, because one of their own, Cameron Ortis, allegations could be worse than the national security breach, the worst national security breach in Canadian history. A stunning amount of classified information may have been leaked. So this goes against Cameron Ortis, a senior RCMP intelligence director who is facing multiple charges. So he wasn't a head honcho, he was high up, but he wasn't in charge of it all. Here we have tech company CEO indicted in the alleged use of secure phones for drug smuggling. I want you to realise I'm going through all of this so you can see for yourself. And I'm not using that. So stop the recording. Here we have Cameron Ortis, top Canadian police intelligence officer charged with leaking secret information. So he's connected to our friend Victor Ramos, the guy in charge of Phantom Secure. CEO of a smart mob outfit, Phantom Secure, cuffed after cocaine sting boast of murder by GPS. So there's an affidavit PDF which we can go to. Here we have the affidavit itself, United States, and a lot of this is obviously redacted. Obviously there must be some more other stuff going on because it's heavily redacted. I will leave that for your pleasure to read at your own leisure. And I also bring this to your attention. Vincent Ramos sentenced to 9 years in prison for selling encrypted phones to criminals. He was told to forfeit $80 million in earnings. What's his clients? Ramos ran a company called Phantom Secure that offered gutted, uncrackable smartphones that for a subscription could send encrypted text messages through a secure network based in Panama and Hong Kong. The company could also wipe the phones remotely if they were seized. Prosecutors says Ramos' clients include the Sinaloa drug cartel of Mexico and a global drug trafficking and illicit gambling organization run by former University of Southern California football player Owen Hansen. Hansen is serving a 21-year prison sentence. Other clients were the Hells Angels in Australia, who used them to coordinate several killings, authorities said. Ramos boasted about his wares after seeing a 2014 news report that said use of his encrypted device by a suspect in one of the high-profile murder had hampered their investigation. I am sorry, I accept responsibility for my actions that have led me here today, Victor Ramos. At least 7,000 of the phones were sold. The scope of this case is staggering, Assistant U.S. Attorney General Andrew Young said, calling Ramos' clients some of the most sophisticated criminals in the world using some of the most sophisticated technology in the world. This is a fascinating Ortis case linked to the Vancouver firm that supplies secure cell phones to international crimes. I'm bringing all this relevant information so you can see all different sources, all stating the story. Phantom Secure CEO sold encrypted phones to drug cartels. There's a reason why I'm putting this out here. Let's go back to the video. What I'm going to do is going to take us to 18 minutes.
Spun off Entrust and gave the job of training and teaching the Entrust techniques of public key infrastructure to McDonald Detweiller and Associates in Richmond, British Columbia. which is where Phantom Secure set up. Right now, it's an online facility. I believe there's only one company in the world that could provide systems integration at the scale we see to the 20,000 strong Phantom Secure network of criminals around the world that would support and allow them to conceal murder for hire, money laundering, drug trafficking, extortion, intimidation, all the good things.
So here we have Mr. Hawkins stating that Phantom Secure. Now, is Phantom Secure an online facility, or is McDonnell Detweiler an online facility? Well, let's go and do a quick search. Phantom Secure online facility. Phantom Secure is shut down. Why is that? Because the CEO of it, the guy that created the company, was put in jail. What about McDonnell Detweiler and Associates online facility? Well, you can go through that and you'll find again. So what is Hawkins talking about? Again, we need to go a little bit further into this situation, and I'm going to play you something else.
Well, I think they've got good reason, you see, because again, the work I do, I try and look, as you know, into the patent office, and I've assembled 10 patented devices that I believe are at the heart of the Phantom Secure criminal organization. And just to repeat, that's 20,000 criminals, some in jail with a perfect alibi, some outside jail, swanning around the world, that are engaged in an international racketeering, influence, and corrupt organization, which involved hardcore adult and child pornography, and online gaming, and intimidation, and blackmail, and...
Well, there you heard it for yourself. He states quite clearly that this got nothing to do with drugs and drug cartels. This is all about child pornography. I've gone through all those various documentation and evidence to do with that, to show you what's going on. So, update. Indictments and assets seized. FBI busts Phantom Secure CEO for selling secure BlackBerry phones to drug cartels. Well, you see, the BlackBerry phone is what they used. They stripped it out. They took the microphones out, and what they put was an encrypted email system in there, which will only link to other phones in that network it creates. Therefore, you can't phone into it. You can only access via the other ones. The $1 million unhackable phones being used by the world's elite. So this is something that's been going on for some time. But Mr. Hawkins here has decided to put his spin on it, creating this narrative that it's all to do with child pornography, etc. Patent by Vincent Ramos. No patents by Vincent Ramos, but it tells he was sentenced to 9 years in jail. Patents by Antonio Ramos, but no Vincent Ramos. Here we have Secure OS, another secure group. So as you go through this, you'll find that other companies like Google seeks patent for mobile device security for e-payments. This was in June 27, 2020. So here we go again about encryptions. But let's talk about patents here. So encrypted emails via web-based email systems. As you go through it, so again, all these patents are there via secure email. So this is something not out of the ordinary. What this guy did, this Vincent Ramos, was go through and do all the phones with this encryption service to make them absolutely secure, so nobody could break into it. So the story of Victor Ramos ends with the fact that he was the CEO of Phantom Secure, pleads guilty to helping drug traffickers by providing encrypted communication devices. It's relevant that we get the clear picture here. What Hawkins has done in this episode of CS the BS is, if I take it all the way back till we get the cover, is create this narrative. So in the beginning part, he starts the story off that the Prime Minister Boris Johnson was set up for an assassination attempt. Perhaps it was a pre-run for Trump. You see, these are all the points of what I'm going on about. None of this is backed up by evidence. This is the problem. So why I brought in Mr. Charles Liddell, Lee Stranahan and Kevin Shipp into this argument, because all three of these back up Jason Goodman. Jason Goodman, as the guy running the program, should say to Mr. Hawkins, okay, you've made a bold statement there, David. Now let's give the people the actual documented evidence to prove what you're saying. But he doesn't do that. But the very fact when you go into what he's talking about, like for instance Phantom Secure, which has got nothing to do with McDonald's Detwiller Associates. And he's also accused this company so many times from the years of 2011 onwards. I bet if I go back into time of 2002, in his old blogs where he attacks Canada all the time, I'll find McDonald Detwiller in there. So what would be interesting is, first of all, the security services, do they know that Professor Neil Ferguson attempted to kill the Prime Minister? I'm sure they'll be interested in that. Along with, McDonald Detwiller, who should be informed that they are actually involved in child pornography. I don't believe they're aware of this. For instance, if you go to other places, like for instance CAI Capital Partners, it talks about McDonald's Detwiller and Associations Limited. So it's not as if it's a hidden company or dubious company, a bit like all the other stuff. What I'm interested in pointing out, and what I'm about, is the facts. Where's the evidence? There is a severe lack of it. So it would be very important if people like, I don't know, McDonald's, Detwiller and Associates were informed about Mr. Hawkins' outrageous claims, and they should have the right to reply. I mean, after all, that is what should be done. So if Mr. Hawkins is absolutely categorically proven that these people are involved in child pornography, snuff films and everything else, I mean, don't forget some of the outrageous claims Hawkins has made in the past, all been debunked and proven to be lies. But here he goes again on a company that he's been on the back of for years. But also to accuse Professor Lockdown of trying to kill Boris Johnson. Why is nobody turning around saying, hang on a minute, David, it's about time you actually gave us hard evidence of what you're talking about. And not this flim-flam you go through the patent office, because we've proven that before, especially about the biological bullet that was used in the Piggy Palace that wasn't created in the patent until 2010. 9 years after the event, or 10 years after the event. So I rest my case, and upon that I wish you all a wonderful day.